That was my friend Nathaniel Johnstone from his album, The Antikythera Mechanism. Today we're going to talk about repairing vintage receivers. This is a Pioneer SX838 receiver that I found at the town dump. And I found this one about 15 years ago. It served me well in the workshop. It has since been replaced by this Yamaha because this developed a noisy transistor. And what we're going to do today is we're going to find that noisy transistor. First thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to open up the unit. I'm going to clean all of the controls, all of the switches, and all the potentiometers. So, because I know some of them are dirty, and I don't want any problem with a potentiometer or a switch masking the actual issue with the noisy transistor. I think I can show you that right now. Usually it doesn't happen until the unit warms up a little bit. This has been running a little while, so let's take a look. There, hear that? That is characteristic of a transistor that's gone bad. It has a bad internal connection, or the silicon is cracked. Something is going wrong with this. It could be a bad solder joint on the printed circuit board, which hopefully that's it, because touch it with a soldering iron and it will be fixed. You can see this is coming from the right channel, and the left channel is quiet. So this should be fairly easy to track down, but first let's clean those controls. I'm going to unplug the unit, take the cover off, just start by cleaning all these switches in here. And this I'm just going to give a little bit to each one. Now I'm going to tilt the unit up on end, and we'll open it up. These are going to be a real challenge. I'm going to have to take the front panel off and disassemble this to get to these. In order to do that, I need to pull off all the knobs. And then I'll take the nuts off of these two potentiometers. And now I should be able to remove and the tuning knob. And this little bezel. Now this should come off. Yep, there we go. And these controls are up under here. So I'm going to need to take this sub panel off. This is the tone controls, and they have some extra shielding on them. All right, there we go. Now I'll get in there and I'll clean all of these controls. All right, so we've got all our controls cleaned, and I am going to leave this front cover off while I troubleshoot. So let's plug it back in. And there we are. So I think you can hear that pretty clearly. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a non-conductive stick. This is called a spudger. It's a telecommunications tool. And I'm just going to start poking around and see if I can find our noisy boy. This is the FM/AM receiver portion, so we know we're not over here anywhere. We're probably not coming from the drivers because this noise happens when it's in phono mode. So it's probably not a driver transistor. So these are the outputs. These are the driver transistors. And then there are sets of preamplifier transistors going all the way back. Since this noise is only coming from the phono inputs, it's probably not this board. It's probably the preamplifier board, which I think is here. Ah, there's my noisy boy right there.
That's noisy boy!
This is what we call a microphonic transistor. This is a cold spray. It's basically like a can of dust off, but it has a feeder tube that goes down to the bottom. You can actually use a can of dust off for troubleshooting if you hold it upside down, so you get that very cold spray. You can see when I cooled that off, the characteristics changed. It's no longer microphonic, but it's still noisy. This is a power supply board, so again, unlikely that there's any problem here. I think we found our culprit, that guy right there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this board out, and I'm going to examine the other side and make sure this isn't a bad solder joint. So I will turn this off and unplug it. To get this board out, I'm just going to squeeze these support posts together and pull up on the printed circuit board. This was our bad transistor. These solder joints are all in fine shape, so pretty sure that's our culprit. Okay, so what we have here is it is marked A725. So typically transistors have a 2N prefix. So I'm going to go to the internet and I'm going to look up a 2N A725. Okay, this looks like it is a PNP transistor, general purpose audio. Let's see if we can find one. So I went through my collection of transistors and I don't have anything that corresponds to this 2SA725 transistor. However, looking at the specifications, this transistor is not too different than the good old 2N3906, which is a very common general purpose transistor. I'll purposely leave the 2SA725 for the other channel in there, and then we can A/B the two channels and see if there's any difference in the sound. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that transistor out now and replace it. Okay, there's our replacement transistor, a 2N3906. And a 2N3906 goes emitter, base, collector. And this has a very nice little diagram. All right, let's give that a try and see if it has fixed our noisy boy. Plug back in, power on. This is maximum gain on the phono input. All right, let's hook up a turntable and see if there's any difference between the sound of the two channels. So I hooked up a turntable and everything works as expected, but I realized that I don't have any music I can play for you on YouTube. I don't have anything that I have the rights to play here. So I've plugged my iPad back in, this time to the phono input, and I have turned the volume way, way down on the laptop. Phono inputs on amplifiers are designed to be used with the magnetic phono cartridges that are in turntables. And there is a compensation curve, the RIAA compensation curve, which is an equalization curve for correct reproduction from a magnetic cartridge. So since I'm using a line level input turned way down, it's probably going to be a little muddy, but it'll give us an idea of the quality of the audio. So I've put the amp in mono mode, so the same signal's going to both channels. This is the left channel. This is the original channel with the original transistor. Alexander set a challenge across the land. He would rule beyond a storm. That sounds pretty good. All right, let's try the other channel. I'm going to turn this down, over to the other channel. She smiled, alas, our captain so dear, 'tis us who can win this task. Raise sail to the wind, let the race begin. That sounds pretty good. So strong, our captain, so brave, so true, but glory. Right channel, left channel. Right channel. And that's both channels together. All right, I think that's a rousing success. If anything, the right channel sounds a little better than the left channel to me. I think it has a little more bass. That may have something to do with the speaker position here. That speaker's in the corner of the room, and this speaker is only about a third of the way into the room. So in any case, I'm calling this a success, and we'll see you next time.